Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video and hope you guys are doing well today. And Wowhead posted this article about 12 hours ago talking about the difficulty of tier 11 in terms of 10, 25 and normal and heroic. So I wanted to go over this. I thought it was an interesting topic for us to talk about as a community. I want to know your guys' thoughts on it and everything like that as well. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing they show is the 10 and 25 kills per boss. It shows that, you know, the order that people, I say order, like how many kills we're getting per boss. It almost shows like a difficulty level, Halfus being significantly easier than anything else on Heroic, which we know. I find it interesting that Magmor is one of the bosses that people do early. I would put this later in the list. In fact, I would say that all four of these bosses are easier than Magmor on 10 heroic, but hey, I mean, that's obviously this is what the stats show. This shows there's a couple of differences between what we did, or I did as a guild, but it's not miles away. I mean, we did Omnitron before Atramedes, and then we did Chimeron, Atramedes, Maloriak, then we did Dragons, then we did Conclave and Alakir, then we did Ascendant Council and Cho, then we did Sinestra, and we're now on Nefarian. So it's mostly the same, ever so slight differences. What I find interesting is that then you look at the 25-man kills, and the only real change is that Alakir goes further down the list, which you would kind of expect on 25-man. It's the same size arena, and there's already an issue for space on 10-man. You'd kind of expect it to be worse on 25-man. And somehow Sinestra and Nef switch, which I would say Sinestra is actually a harder boss with more people. I would have thought that one would have been like securely last, whereas Nef, nothing really changes in 25-man that makes it harder. So, never know. I don't know. But in terms of actual kills, there's more Halfus kills. There's more Atramedes. Oh no, Atramedes, there's slightly less kills. There's significantly more Magmor kills. Omnitron, there's significantly more. I say there's like a 50 odd more. Chimeron, there's less. Maloriak, there's less. Thoralion and Valiona, there's more, quite a decent amount more. There's a lot more Conclave 10-man kills. Like 100 more Alakir kills on 10-man. Ascendant Council, slightly more in favour of the 25-man. Cho'Gall is the same. Alakir we expected to be in favour of 10-man. And then there's less Sinestra and Nef kills on 10-man as well, which in terms of, I thought the difficulty levels between the two raids would be noticeable, and I've done a few heroics in 25-man, and obviously I'm 12 out of 13 heroic currently on 10-man. Speaking of which, I've got my Sinestra video coming out in the next day or so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, so I think it's quite interesting how, you know, the kills have lined up. In terms of you guys, what's your kill progression been if you've got into heroic at all? Is it favoured one way or the other? And yeah, so one interesting piece of data is comparing the number of groups doing 10 and 25 content. Lockout shared, players need to choose, which is very annoying. We have almost 90,000 10-player kills between all tier 11 raids, whilst only 37,000 25-player kills logged. But that kind of makes sense though, right? So if you times that by 2.5, you're getting 92,500. So, like, in terms of players, there's almost the same amount of players doing 10-man normal as there is 25-man normal. If you normalize for raid size, there's an even split in the play. Okay, that's what they say. Yeah, okay, which I kind of get. For heroic, the numbers changed drastically. During the first week, there were almost 11,000 10-player heroic kills logged, and slightly less 25-player heroic kills logged, which means there was more than double the number of players doing 25 heroic content than 10-player, which again, we expected, right? Difficulty per boss, and I find this really interesting, actually. So this is how many pulls it takes the average kind of, well, the average stat at the moment to kill a boss. Omnitron is almost a guaranteed kill. It's like one pull is one kill. Atramedes is a little bit less. It goes up to like, Conclave, Alakir, it's maybe 1-2 pulls. Ascendant Council, things can go wrong on Ascendant Council if people get unlucky or just don't do the mechanics correctly. Chimeron really baffles me on 10 player because you can almost just brute force it. And then we have Neff, which is like, it's just such an anomaly. And if we look at 25 player as well, it's the same, There's less. Halfus is a little bit easier, which again we'd expect on 25 player. You can bring a third tank without losing too much. You can bring a sixth healer without losing too much. And once you get past the dragons, it's just a burn phase. Cho'Gall is about the same. Dragons are about the same. Is there anything that jumps up on the list? No, it's all kind of the same, isn't it? Alakir jumps up. Again, same reasons I mentioned before. I'm really surprised by that Chimeron, actually. On average, 25 player Neff is easier to kill than 10 player. And then on Heroic 10 player, I have to say this looks nothing like our progression. But this is obviously, you've got guilds going in there killing it in one pull, right? And that's going to bring the average down. But generally, I mean, Atramedes being the easiest boss, I would agree with that. Maloriak being one of the easier heroic bosses on 10 man, I would 100% agree. Halfus, yeah. Cho'Gall, definitely. I've been telling people this and people really didn't believe me. Chimeron, I don't see it being harder than Cho, really, but okay. Omnitron, I agree that it's harder than Chimeron, but do I agree it's harder than Cho? Not really. Magmor, it's the first really healing intense fight that you're going to get out of all of these lot. Thralion and Valiona, yeah, I can see that. Conclave, again, it's a bit different. This is where it jumps out for me a little bit. Is Sinestra, the average pulls per kill is 25.64. I think we did it in 60, 55 with no, like, that's no prior prog. That's literally come in, see the fight for the first time during live, kill the fight. I think we did it in like 50 pulls, which again, I thought we did really well. I think we could have killed it a good 20 pulls earlier. I think we made a couple of changes and were raiding late and just got tired and played badly. But yeah, I think that's something that's definitely, yeah, I can see that. Alakir, we put way more than 28 pulls in. But again, I think we had we consistently got to phase 3, and then for a night I was just screwing up the leading of it. I think was probably our biggest issue. Ascendant Council 30 wipes. I think we did it slightly lower than that actually, but it surprises me that Ascendant Council is seen as harder than Sinestra and Alakir. And then Neff being 40 pulls. I wouldn't say Neff is any harder than things like Sinestra personally, but we're just progging it at the moment. We've done like 34 pulls. We've seen late into phase 3 a couple of times. We just need a little bit tidy up on the ads, and that'll be a dead Neff today, tomorrow, hopefully. Yeah, and then on 25 man, Atramedes, Maloriak, Halfus, Cho'Gall jumps up. I think it's because you get 2 ads on 25 player heroic. Maybe Cho'Gall heroic is at 25 heroic is a harder fight. I haven't actually done it yet. Omnitron's lower. That surprises me a little bit. I thought there would be a little bit more mayhem on that. Chimeron's quite a bit lower. Magmor, about the same. Sinestra goes really far down. I wonder, Sinestra seems like a bit of an oddball because of the heroic stuff. Because, like, if you look at the kills, there's only 153 kills week 1 on Sinestra. But if you look at this, it says that most guilds are killing it very quickly. But I'm wondering if that's because a lot of guilds couldn't get past Ascendant Council, which obviously you'd need to do the other 4 bosses on heroic. So maybe that's the reason that the kills are so low, but it's only a few wipes. So that the guilds that are getting to it, it's easier than Ascendant Council. Thralion and Valiona. Do I think it's that hard on 25 player? No, nothing really changes, to be honest. In fact, I'd say it's easier to soak things on 25. Conclave then, 19 to 24. I would say it's easier on 25 man. Ascendant Council, I don't think it gets any harder on 25 man, actually. Alakir, I definitely think this one gets harder on 25 man, but actually it is taking more kills to kill it on 10 man, which is really interesting. And then Neff is significant, looks significantly easier on 25 man, which is very interesting. They bring a load of stats down here, but I'm not going to go through loads more information and stats. I've kind of barraged you guys with that already. I suppose the questions I've got for you guys is, how have you found this tier so far? Have you tried any heroics? Are you doing 10 or 25 man? What do you think of the difficulty level? Is it appropriate? I personally think having post-nerf normal raids and fixed pre-nerf heroic raids was a bad decision, because I think the gap between normal and heroic now is too big. I think we're seeing guilds go from, you know, this, where they've only got one hard boss to contend with, everything else is fallen over in, I mean, let's just add it up, 1, 2, 3, 5, maybe adding it all up totally, 6.5, 8, you know, 10, 12, 14, 16.5, 18.5, 19-ish. You know, all of these are almost equaling how many pulls you're going to do on Neff on 10 player, and it's very similar on 25 player. I think, and then you go from like this to, you know, there's almost more pulls on 2 or 3 of the early heroic bosses than there is on the hardest normal boss. So I think the difficulty level's just not quite there with this tier so far. And I would like to see some curiosity out of Blizzard just to see if that's where they want it to sit. But like I said, I'm interested to know what you guys have got to say. In terms, for me, I think so far I've been surprised by the ease of the tier. But I am very, very lucky that I'm playing with some very, very good people that have carried my enhancement shemmy ass through this tier. So yeah, like I said, this is over to you guys. I want to know what you guys as a community think about this. Let me know, whether it's in YouTube comments, in my Discord, wherever. Thank you for watching, guys. More videos coming soon. Peace.